You don't have to be a star baby. You don't have to be a star baby to be on this show. You don't have to be a star baby, but you got to be bold. Shake my pom poms, shake my pom poms, shake my pom poms, shake my pom poms. Well, it's 10 p.m. Wednesday night, and of course, you got Brown on Cleveland inside the Lentil Hut podcast. And of course, I got my co host hanging out with me. I got Freddie M. Gates. I'm glad she put it out there because I'd have said it the opposite. And of course, Angel Washington is hanging out with us today. It's about time. It's about time. It's about time. But before we go on, I got to say hello to my girlfriends. That's Alita Johnson of Dream Team Realty. If you're looking for Angel single home or commercial property for you and Will, call Alita right now at 216-375-3681. And Freddie, you told me you were looking for t-shirts for karaoke and conversation. Call my girl, Angie Marie of New Beginnings 1111 Creations. Guess what, Freddie? She does t-shirts, hoodies, jackets, tumblers, cups, mugs, team uniforms, you name it, she can claim it. You make it, she can bake it and shake it. Brown on Cleveland. Yeah. So listen, tonight we got a great show, Wednesday night. And the topic tonight is, why do Black women sometimes struggle to get along with each other? It's a question that we often whisper, but we rarely address. So, listen, society has placed immense pressure on Black women, creating a narrative that pits us against one another, from stereotypes to systemic inequality. These factors can shape our perceptions and interactions. Jealousy, competition, and misunderstanding can creep in and fueled by society expectations and desire to be seen as the best. This often leads to feelings of inadequacy and tension rather than solidarity and support. Brown on Cleveland inside the Little Hut podcast. Listen, ladies, the show belongs to you. I got my thoughts, but I'm going to hand it off to you, Freddie. What do you think? How come we cannot get along as Black women? Is it a struggle or not?
It is definitely a struggle amongst some Black women. I'm not going to say all Black women, but it's definitely a struggle. In the point you started or stated, the jealousy, the envy, the competition part of it, um, the historic things behind it, culturally, it's so many things that drive this distrust amongst us or support of each other. Because sometimes when, in my experience, I'm not going, in my experience, sometimes when you meet a woman that deems you to be either some type of threat in their whatever perceived mind of it, there's an instant, either they like you or they don't. There's this instant defense of, I don't know, like everybody is like clamoring the crab in the barrel, like especially when you say the competitive part and the workforce part, because it seems like it's only room for one of us. So I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get there, and that means even stepping over you. So it doesn't even matter what level of you're at in society. The distrust, the envy, the jealousy goes across the board. But again, I would say, in my experience, I've met some genuine women that do support, but is that common? No. And unfortunately, it's not common. So, what drives that? And again, in my experience, is just like you said, it's a competitiveness, it's an envy that from the other side. Because if you are giving of yourself to someone and they still have this distrust on you, it's something within them. And me being used to be and still semi people pleaser, is you see real characters when you do finally tell a friend, a woman, or whatever, no. Um, but yeah, definitely think it's a lot of envy, but I think it's generational. I think it's part of what was ingrained in us, in allowing others to define our beauty. So it's a lot. It's layers to this complex people we call our beautiful black women. So
No comments, Angel?
Well, yeah. So, well, the one thing is, you don't got to like me to respect me. And so a lot of times I know we have situations where people just genuinely don't like somebody. And I don't think that you have to just like somebody because they black or brown, but you can still show them respect, and respect them as a human or as a person. That don't mean you got to be best friends with them or y'all got to go out to dinner, but you can still show them respect as a woman. So that's one thing. But like Freddie said, it's a lot of layers to it. And historically, we go all the way back to slavery. A lot of this, started there. We have situations where, people don't like each other because of the different shades, light skin versus dark skin. And, back in the 80s, that was a really big thing around the time, 80s, 90s, when Spike Lee made the movie,
Mhm.
School Days, and we saw that whole thing, good hair, bad hair, and then we got, better clothes, not better clothes. It's always something, but it goes all the way back to slavery, where we had, lighter skinned women were allowed to get, better amenities. They were allowed to be in the house. They were allowed to not have to go through as much outside, but they still went through their thing inside that people outside didn't know about. They were being raped and all kinds of other things. So just because a person may appear to have something better, you don't know the other side. But, I think it's just so many different layers of it. And yeah, but the thing is that I don't think we all have to really like each other, but we do have to respect each other, and we should look out for each other. And that's just because we have to. Because nobody else is going to.
Correct. Let me ask you this. Do you think that one of the reasons why some black women don't get along or don't respect other black women, is it because we have allowed people who don't look like us to create our narrative, especially when they start calling us the angry
Mm-hmm.
black woman or the
Yep.
lazy black woman or the aggressive black woman? What are your thoughts regarding people creating our narrative?
okay, so for me, people creating our narrative has been the narrative of America since we got here. They created our narrative. They set the parameters, they created this box, and they kept us right there. So we have been, it's hard for people to wrap their mind around the fact that for centuries, not a couple years, not a decade, for century, this our people were living in literally hell. And that mindset just doesn't wipe away, which is not even ancient history. That doesn't go away. So somebody creating our narrative has always been there, and is like, to in today's society, and just period, like from what Angel was talking about, the dislike that you would have amongst our own of the light skinned, the dark skinned. And even when I have a friend that's fair skinned with curly hair and all that good stuff, but she had her issues because everybody thought either you too cute or you white or you this and this and that. And it's like, I had my stuff because you dark skinned and you so we all carry some type of trauma that was usually brought on by our own peers, our own black girls to black women, and that treated trauma, we just continue to pass it on. Some of us have put in the work to grow beyond that, but that's was at, for me, my opinion, the core of some of the reason that people have been allowed to shape our narrative, because it's just the way it was initially designed, but we know better now. So what?
Well, Angel, let me ask you this. In 2025, do you think or do you believe that we should push, pull, or carry our sisters?
I think we should do all three. I think we should do all three. I think there's going to be times where we need to push each other to the next level. There's going to be times when somebody has fell behind and maybe need to be pulled. And there's going to be times where you literally got to put somebody on your back and carry them to the next place. And I mean, I think all three are applicable in 2025 today more so than any time, because we are in a time where, like, especially here in Cleveland, I mean, it's everywhere, but you know, in Cleveland, they got the report. We all know that they say this is the worst place for Black women to be in Cleveland. So, if you truly want to talk about being a good sister, you got to look out for each other. And that means pushing, pulling, and carrying.
So let me go back to this. You said, they said. I don't know where this narrative is coming from when they talk about Black women, because I don't believe that narrative actually was developed by Black women. I think sometimes people put stuff out there so Black women can begin to question themselves. To me, it's like everybody wants to challenge your self esteem, especially if they know you have a weak self esteem. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a way for them to keep putting their foot on your neck. But
Mm-hmm.
on the other end of the spectrum, the problem I have, and I'm gonna put it out here, look at my glasses falling off. The problem I have is when we put our support behind a sister, and as soon as that sister get to where we want her to go, all of a sudden we're not sisters anymore.
Yeah,
She is responsible. She is responding to everybody but the sisters who
that
helped her
helped her.
break the glass ceiling. And I think that's one reason, and I think it's a factual reason. It's a great assessment to have the basic understanding of why sometimes we don't get along. Because it's like this: if I'm helping you cross the benchmark, and as soon as you cross the benchmark when nobody else would help you, the first person you turn on are the sisters who helped you. Brown on Cleveland.
Hmm.
True
Well,
story.
you know, I that's, you know, those are, it's always going to be your one-offs. And those one-offs, you got to hold those people accountable. That's a checkup moment, you know. Check in with that person and let them know, you know, be honest with them and say how you feel. I think that's another thing, is that sometimes we aren't really truthful and honest. And so, you know, that may have happened, and that person may have never even heard how you felt on the, or how the other people felt, or know that they felt that way. And so sometimes those conversations got to happen. So, but I want to go back to what you talked about the perspective that's put out about Black women, and how, and I honestly feel like it's become like a character that we feel like sometimes we have to become to be a Black woman. Like, they have us defined as, in order to be a Black woman, stereotypically this is how a Black woman should be. And we kind of fall into that over a period of time, where people feel like this is how I have to act to prove that I'm a strong Black woman, and I'm this or I'm that. And I think that that's a lot of times when you don't have somebody to help shape who you should be or how you should be growing up in your household or in your family, and you didn't get that, and all you have to go on is these perspectives and these stereotypes. I think that happens sometimes.
Okay,
Please
well,
shake
I'm
your
gonna
hand.
I am, because the reason being is because we were just all together on Saturday,
Yep.
and we watched Black Girls Empowered, and we watched a house full of women, and everybody had trauma, everybody had difficulties. So if I actually bought into what you just stated, then we will all be crazy. because the mother had issues, the grandma had issues, the two older sisters had issues, their baby girl had issues, even the nieces and the nephews had issues. So our families sometimes they're so messed up.
Hmm.
And it's very unfortunate that none of us can really pinpoint why they're messed up or when they started to be messed up. We got theories, we've heard narratives. But what I'm talking about when I talk about narratives, who gives anybody the right to create the narrative of who we are?
Right. They don't have the right, but I'm saying that they have done this.
Angry,
They have
angry black woman,
they have created this narrative,
black
and
women don't
people
get
feel
along with one another.
like they have to live up to that narrative.
Black women are aggressive. Black women are loud. Black women are rude. I don't buy into any of that. Listen, let me tell you what I just
I
read
don't buy
verbatim.
into it, but I'm just saying that I believe that people fall into that and feel like they have to fill those roles to be black
Listen,
women sometimes, and that's how we get
the narratives of what's put out there.
right.
Listen to this. This is what I discovered today as I was researching. According to the National Center of Education, this is a narrative we need to buy into. They said that the most intelligent person on the earth is the black woman.
Oh yeah.
Google it, right?
Oh
They
yeah.
also they also said that black women in 2024, 63% of black women got their BAs, right? 18% got their masters, 5% got their doctorates.
Hmm.
We get more education. We have more education than white males, white females, black males, whomever. If we're going to buy into a narrative, that's the
But
that's
then
that's the
because we
narrative.
have all of that, we are always. Me and my husband was just talking about this tonight. So I got a friend. She just turned 40 this year, but I've been knowing her for like 12 years, and I didn't realize how young she was because she had such a big girl job, I call it, when she was a young adult. And my husband said, "Why do y'all black when y'all always have like these big important jobs at these young ages?" And it's like because we're always intelligent or smart and we always it's like we have to live up to these standards, and somewhere down the line we got these other bad standards. So, like that's a good one right there, the education thing, that's a great one, but we also have gotten these bad stereotypical standards attached that people feel like they have to live up to that part too.
What
Now I don't
the point? The
I don't
point.
feel like I got to be like the aggressive, you know, mean,
No, no,
black
no,
bee, that
no.
type of thing. But I know that there's people that are like that.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
You
is
see.
what I don't understand is why do we buy into the process when something is negative in a narrative
Yeah.
rather than buy into the process when something is positive into the narrative? We make a decision, and that's based upon our self esteem. Because I
Now
tell you
that's
like
true. Now,
this
yes, it's based
honestly,
on self-esteem, but it's
you
also on people's norms too. Because another
no,
thing,
that's
it
that's that's not factual. That's an assessment. That's judgment. Because you say norm, whose norm are you
but
referring
that's what
to?
I'm saying. Everybody's norm is different, but when you think that that's the norm, when it's your norm and you think it's the norm, you don't know anything different. That's what I'm saying.
Freddie Brown on Cleveland.
Yeah, come on, Freddie. I gotta
Okay.
drink some water.
Y'all went okay. So it's a okay. So when we talking about when we going back to the movie and the the storyline, the multiple storylines that was going through that movie, and like the from Medea to Rosie to the daughters, that when Rosie told her mom like you wasn't there for me, you wasn't this and that for me, and then you think about Medea's life and like
Mm-hmm.
can you imagine her upbringing and what she didn't get, because one of the reasons why it's so probably easy for people to shape our narrative is because we don't know ourselves. Because if you know who you are, I don't care if you think I'm aggressive, I don't care if you think I'm whatever you choose to describe me as. I know who I am. You may be threatened by it, but that doesn't define me. But that comes from me learning myself, learning to love myself and give me that self love, but also for me, understanding where I come from,
Okay.
understanding the shoulders of which I stand. So I will not at this point in my life be allowed this society that di- will dictate who we should be. So if you understand our struggle, our journey, there is definitely personality traits within us
Yeah.
that it had to be there for our survival. But to say that we are this, we were raising everybody's babies, so we couldn't be that aggressive. We were nurturing everybody. We were cleaning your home, so we couldn't be that lazy.
That's correct.
But you thought of us as less than. You thought that we were stupid. We just like it's, but again, knowing thyself, and that's a disservice to us as a people, that we don't get that. So you can't, the narrative will always be allowed to be shaped if you allow them to shape it. But if you know yourself and you know yourself, all that noise irrelevant to me at this point. And I know it takes a journey to get there, and that push, pull, or carry, I agree with that too. All needs to be done, but also some will get left behind.
Okay.
Period.
By choice. But many Black women uplift and empower other Black women on a daily basis. It says that we share experiences that bind us more than separate us. And when we focus on collaboration rather than competition, we thrive together. And that's a statement I do agree with. I
I
think
do.
that sometimes we get so bogged down with the negativity. Sometimes it's so cloudy that we can't see the positivity. And I think that if we learn to do the reversal, we'll be better off. But I also believe this and that mantra, each one teach one.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to pull back and lift somebody up, regardless. And I don't know who said it. You don't have to like the person. You don't have to, you don't gotta like them. That's the whole thing about it. You don't have to like people to help them and to pull
Mm-hmm.
them up and to let them stand on your shoulders. You really don't. And I
You do.
think that when we're almost 100, like I am in age, almost 100 years old, you
Combined,
whatever,
maybe.
whatever, almost 100, you just really get to the point where you just want to see people succeed. If you get to come up on me, I'm happy that I helped. If you don't, I'm still happy that I was able to pull you up from step one to step two, maybe step three, step four. I'm just happy to do that. It's not about competition. You want something, I think you deserve it. I'm going to help you get there. And we know we never have to be friends. But the thing is, can you reciprocate? It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't even have to be with me, but
With
I need
somebody
you
else,
to.
right?
That's all I'm saying. Brown on Cleveland.
And I can attest that Kim is a person of her word, because what she just said is partially our experience. And when we got to know each other, so she not just talking, it's not a wolf ticket. She really is, that's truly who she is as a person, and I can attest to that. So thank you. But yeah, so and that's what it's like. You don't have to like a person. That's what's most important. Nobody ever said that you had to like somebody, but you do have to look out for people and you have to respect them. And that's
Yes,
regardless of what color you are. That's
correct.
how it should be. That's how it should be, but we know that it's not. Um, but in that movie, so it was so many layers in the movie.
Oh,
And the most important thing for me that came out of the movie and was similar is that there was no communication between the kids and the parent. There was no love shown or emotion shown. And that's kind of how I grew up in my household. So like
Mm,
I grew up in a household where nobody ever really said they love me or I knew they loved me because
mhm,
guess what? It was food on the table every night. Lights was on. I had nice clothes. I had a house. So that's how I grew up knowing that I was but I was watching that in that movie. Like there was no emotion towards those children. And I for a minute I had to figure out who the mother was. I didn't because she wasn't around for a minute. It was the girls, and then it was the my dear, and then I kept thinking like, then the mother came. It was kind of confused because she never really had a motherly tone with the girls, and I was confused with this picture, and that's all she talked about was this girl that was away. So
mhm,
I was kind of confused. Like, is she really their mother? I was like, because it was never really that motherly tone that she didn't show that to the girls.
mm-mm.
So, that was completely missing.
Yeah.
I think that was part. I think that was part of the point.
Right, right.
Yeah, it was part of the point, but it goes back to like us peeling back the layers of who we are,
Mhm.
peeling back the layers of who we are because to say yeah there's no communication, who taught them communication? Like
Right.
where was communication taught? Because again, every time you go back a generation, the communication worse and worse, and there's a detachment because think about the fact that our ancestors had kids that were just totally just snatched away. So there's no bonding. There's no like you don't even get to get attached to family. So we keep it's like we keep thinking of it in ancient history, but this is what is still carrying on from that movie in 1972
Mhm.
still today.
Mhm.
And that's
And
something.
depending on the roles in our family, I'm the oldest of my siblings. So
Me
my
too.
role and my connection with my mom totally different than my sisters who are
Mhm.
11 and 14 years younger than me.
Right, right.
So
What's the age difference between you and your mom?
16.
16. It's 20 between me and my mom, and I kind of feel like I was raised more so like her sister
Mm,
than her kid. A lot of times people will say, I saw your sister and your brother, and I'm like, what? They be like, oh, I'm sorry, that's your mother and your uncle, because that's kind of how, because I was the oldest. And that's yeah. So when that one person made a comment in a movie about the relationship between the older kid, the middle kid, and the younger kid, and how the middle kid, had to take from the older, but then had to display to the younger. That was a real like, I never even thought about, most times they talk about the middle kid as just being a quiet kid, a kid that get left out a lot or whatever. But just to see it that way, that they have to learn from the older, but then also display to the younger, I was like, that's a great way to look at a middle child, because a lot of times the middle kid they don't get a lot of attention.
yeah, well, what I found in that movie, and after I talked to a lot of women, everybody saw themselves in that film.
In some way.
Yeah, some way. Some women actually, they wept. I mean, some are still
Hmm.
weeping today. Uh, some people were actually doing videos on Facebook because what they said was that it was a good women's history program, but they felt that we didn't have enough time to
We
actually
didn't.
really get into the nooks and crannies. So here's what's going to happen. We are actually going to do a part two, the Black Women Commission of Cuyahoga County and the Women Commission for Education and Training. Pam, our chair of that event, is actually putting it together. Hopefully, we'll have something in 45 days, 60 days. And we're not going to have a film. There will probably show snippets just to bring people back up to snuff. And we're actually going to have a women's workshop. And it's going to be so enclosed that if you need to weep, snot, whatever the case may be, this is the time you can pour out. And one thing that I'm going to stress to people who come is that what goes on in this room stays in this room because we have to have a safe space. I think one of the problems why we have so much trauma is because, people say they have somebody to talk to, but you have to ask yourself, if I really pour my heart out to this person, will my stuff be all over the United States of America? I
Mhm.
don't know if I can trust you with my hurt. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I don't want to go
Right.
to a therapist and have my stuff written down. Somebody can break in, steal those notes. I don't know. That's why you have people commit suicide, people get depressed because you really do not have someone to talk to. If you talk to a family member, first thing they're going to say is this: well, you're probably exaggerating or you're being misunderstood. How come my feelings can't be validated? If this is the way I feel, and I've always felt this way, how are you going to not validate my feelings?
Right.
My feelings are real.
They are.
So even like when they say, black women are aggressive and all this stuff, we hurt, we cry at night, you get lonely. So, whoo, it's getting a little hot in here, but
That's true though. Like
it's crazy.
we are like any other person, being, woman, whatever it may be. And the armor that we have to put on is sometimes absolutely necessary. It's a cruel world, and our perceptions, even
Crazy.
from that movie, there was other black people that lived in totally different scenarios, that they had the love, they had the communication,
Yep.
but so many of us grew up in these broken families, so
Crazy.
I
many of us.
I talked to somebody who said that in that movie they were there Saturday and they said that was not their household. They didn't have it like that, but they said but to still be in this room with so many women and know that that was a thing that affected them, to know that people that they may have known may have been going through that.
Correct.
And so the crazy thing though about the movie is that even though, the young lady, they thought she had it so much better because their mom loved her. But look at the
Didn't
situation she was
hurt my
coming from
mother.
with her own mom, so everybody has situations, no matter how good people think they may have it, everybody has situations. Everybody did.
That is correct.
So,
And I think that's what makes us human. So I always tell people just be careful about the things you say to people, how
mm-hmm,
you say it, because you don't know if that's going to traumatize them or re-traumatize them. You don't really know when you're poking the bear.
right.
It's like, when that lady called me
Oh,
black
here we go.
ASSBIT said, it's not here we go. It's not here we go.
I know.
The fact of the matter is that was traumatizing,
Mm-hmm,
you know, and being as old as she is, one should know better. You don't know if that's how somebody grew up and that's all they heard. You have
right.
no idea. All because somebody disagree with you or they don't want to carry your dirty water. This is the way you respond. No, so I'm not being funny now. I'm just saying you got to be careful about things like that because that can get you hurt.
Yeah.
Really.
But people don't think
Right?
about that.
Yeah,
People
well,
don't think about that. They don't
well,
think
well,
about
well, they
they
should.
don't think about their repercussions of the
Well, they
things.
should.
They should. They really should, because what if you, now I'm not trying to be funny, but what if you were so traumatized that you committed suicide? Anything could have happened. You know what I'm saying? You can't just treat people any kind of way and think that it's okay.
Crazy, man. It's crazy. But people got to be careful. Anyway, we got a part 2 coming up, and I am
Also,
totally excited about it
I
because it's
think it'll be awesome to have a part
high
two
demands.
because it was a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And we couldn't unpack it in the 5 minutes after the movie.
No.
It was nice to be able to. The biggest thing is that what I really commend you guys on, and is having mental health professionals as a part of the second panel. That's so
Mhm.
important when you're doing these type of things. And regardless if they're there in the capacity of helping, just to have somebody to kind of help when you unpacking stuff like that is so important,
Yeah.
because that's what they're here for.
Yeah, but we also had Dr. Jacqueline Herford,
Yep.
in the audience. This is the reason why I wanted her to speak out. We had a lot of social workers there. We had a lot of lay people and
That's what I'm
still,
saying. In the room,
we
we
have,
had the room was a
you know,
powerful room. It was a powerful group of women, and the young lady that spoke out, she, the little young lady, she got up and she spoke. and she
Hmm.
gave that one quote at the end. She is an amazing young lady, and I think she only 20 years old, but we just had from young to older, and it was just powerful. And I'm just so great that I was so happy to be there. I wasn't even supposed to be there, but I rearranged my flight so I can be there. And I was telling my husband today, like, I'm so happy that I did that. It was a really,
Hmm.
really impactful event, and I'm so grateful to be a part of that. And I'm
And I,
waiting on part two.
and I
Yes.
think even with the professionals, I think the movie, even with the professionals and the degrees, a lot of us had never seen that movie. So I
Hmm.
think even for them, it was a lot of aha
It
moments.
Oh
was.
yeah, oh yeah,
Even for them, because what you may be taught in the books, this is, is different than you seeing this
oh
right there
yeah.
in your face. Like, so I think it was just like, it even made them like dig a little deeper sometimes, because yeah, so I thought it was just that impactful that it even made the people that do this for a living like,
Hmm.
wow.
And
So
I know when you posted it on Facebook the other day, Kim, somebody had brought up the absence of fathers, of fatherhood too,
Hmm.
and what that brought to that
Absolutely.
whole thing. So that's a whole nother can of worms that we can add to this, another layer adding to this.
Yeah, but I think right now, as women,
Hmm.
because they're asking for a part two, we got to get ourselves together and then bring in our
Oh yeah,
brothers,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Because I think that would be the best thing. And then from our brothers, you can bring in your whole family unit because it has to start somewhere. So
Hmm.
I didn't even realize how great this event was going to be, but just the feedback and the comments and everything, it was just beautiful. I mean, my thing is God put stuff together that we don't even understand what the outcome will be, but He's showing us. We're always talking about how do we heal. We got all of these Black women groups. We have way too many.
Too
I'm not
many.
going to say, we have enough, but I'm going to say we have too many. But then you have to ask yourself, out of all these Black women groups, the Black women groups don't even talk to each other. So how are we supposed to get this thing together? I don't want to come to her event because I don't like the president, or I don't like because somebody's involved in there. At the end of the day, we all got the same issues. Again,
ego,
who
everybody want
Ego,
to be
yep,
the HNIC,
right?
yep.
everybody want to be the head.
Who
So
cares?
But I mean, the good thing is that we all were together on Saturday. All the groups,
Yeah,
every group was represented on Saturday that I know of,
yeah, it was a
as
lot of
far
good.
as the
Yeah,
the Black women groups, and I thought that that was wonderful. Like,
yeah.
yeah, and I would hope, and the ultimate goal is for us to learn to live in a more collaborative versus competitive
Harmonious,
environment.
yeah,
We don't have to be in competition. We can definitely strive to push each other to be better, but for us to understand, we can have the whole pie. We ain't got to fight
we
over
gotta get
crumbs.
there. We gotta get
And
there, and it's hard because people just have this mentality that it's a one for all type of thing. And I don't know if y'all seen the movie, what's my favorite movie, I can't think of the name of it, but it's gonna come to me in a minute. But the character on the movie said everybody can eat, b everybody can eat.
Oh yes, everybody can eat. Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely.
there's enough for everybody out here, and we know this. And it's like we don't have to. And if we help each other, you know that makes it even better. When you help each other and you look out for each other, everybody can eat, and you don't have to be in competition.
Because here's the thing: you don't have to be a star, baby. You don't have to be a star to be on my show. You don't have to be a star to be in the group, but you simply got to be human and you got to be bold.
bold.
So, listen, you guys, it's 39 after, right? We're going to
Okay.
wrap this thing up in 5 minutes. So, we're just going to go ahead and say our goodbyes. I love the conversation this evening, it's well needed. And of course, it's only the beginning.
Yeah.
So, Angel, I'm going to start with you. Say goodbye so we can get ourselves on out of here because I got to go to work in the morning. I got two fairs I got to do, Brown on Cleveland.
All right. Well, everybody, I just thank you all, and just keep in mind that you don't have to like somebody, but you can always show them respect because that's what you would want them to do for you. And just If you have the opportunity to push somebody a little bit or pull somebody a little bit or carry them, it's okay. They're going to appreciate it and you will too in the long run.
Just don't slap them.
Yeah, don't slap them.
Carry them and push them. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. All
Ready,
right.
Freddie?
Well, a good night, everybody. It was a great discussion. And to the women out there, to all of us, we can do better. We definitely can do better. We bigger
Mhm.
and better than this. So my motto again is live, love, laugh, and try to make a difference on the way. It's been a long week, but if you want to come and check us out, Karaoke Conversations is happening at Platinum 13 on Friday from 6 to 9. So if you want to come get
Oh,
some good conversation and do some karaoke, raffles and stuff will be given. Come check us out. But until next time, peace.
well, real quick, what is the address for karaoke and
It
conversation?
is 7,500 Cedar,
Oh,
Platinum 13.
that's
Yes,
not far. I think I may
not
come
at
down there.
all.
I think I may come
Yeah,
down there before I have to jump on my podcast on Friday night.
come on
Well,
and
What's your
check us
topic
out.
on Friday?
So this is our kickoff. So come and check out our vibe. We have different topics, but come on and check out the vibe. We open to a lot of different discussions, but everything is centered around how we empower and improve our community through civic
I think
engagement.
Awesome.
I think I'm going to make a star appearance over at
Okay.
karaoke and conversation.
Yes,
All
come
All
right.
check
right.
us
All right.
out.
Well, as I say, each and every podcast, listen. I know you don't like me. And I'm okay with it because 9 times out of 10, I don't like you either, but that's what we have in common. But listen, sisters, if you need me, call me, reach out. I'm going to be there for you. I'm always there for you. Just don't talk about me because y'all know I'll talk about your back and I will go on attack. But always remember, you don't have to be a star. Mm-mm. You don't have to be a star, baby, to be on the show. You don't have to be a star. Freddie, end it.
But you have to be bold.
Oh, okay, Freddie.
Say goodbye, ladies.